Woo! Okay. I am late. No two ways about it. I am late. I apologize. Um, I am just no excuse. No excuse. I'm late. I shouldn't be, but that's just kind of how it is. All right. Just give me 1 second because I am running very behind. All right, guys, listen, I apologize. I am running behind. I got my coffee. I'm ready to go. I did not. Here's a drill. I was doing some show prep like I normally do, and next thing I know, Antonio Brown signs with Tampa Bay. Okay, so he signs with Tampa Bay. That kind of, by the way, I want to double check here because I want to make sure I'm on. If you don't mind, if somebody is watching, shoot me a comment. I've done this before where the show actually doesn't come on YouTube. So if you don't mind, somebody can give me a comment. That would be awesome. Just for me, I'm going to look on YouTube here, and YouTube lags behind a little bit, but so actually we may have an issue here. And I admit I'm running behind, so that's an issue for me. But I'll just go ahead and I'll start the show. I didn't anticipate Antonio Brown signing with Tampa Bay. This is a great move for Tampa Bay. This, I think, really elevates Tampa Bay from being tied or behind the Saints in the South. I think that they are now the front runner in the South, and partly because of what's going on in this New Orleans. They're banged up. Both Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas are not going to play against Carolina, and this is a game that they need to win. The defense hasn't looked good. They've been penalized a lot. So, I mean, who's going to win the NFC South? I think right now, thanks to Antonio Brown, I think this puts Tampa in the driver's seat in the NFC South. And bottom line, if they can get into it, this year is more of who's going to be healthy. But if Tampa Bay can go into the playoffs healthy, nobody in the NFC wants to play them. I really didn't buy into them being a Super Bowl caliber team. I really thought they were about a 9-win team. Then they signed Fournette. And now with Antonio Brown, the defense is playing good. This is a dangerous team. This is a dangerous team, and this is a very good move. Yannick Ngakoue, and I'm butchering the name, is also that was what I was really going to lead off with. Was the Baltimore Ravens signed Dez Bryant to the practice squad? Yannick Ngakoue traded. Yeah, James, hey man, thanks for the comment, brother. And bottom line, I think that in this locker room, in this environment with Tom Brady, I think he can. This is a veteran coaching staff. This is a really good veteran coaching staff with both an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator who are probably both going to be head coaching candidates. Bruce Arians has always been kind of a player's coach. Lots of players love playing for him. So, I think Tampa Bay is a perfect fit for Antonio Brown. Just that if let's say you're a Tampa Bay fan, I want you to slow up a little bit. You're not getting one of the 5 best receivers in football. Okay. And Tampa Bay doesn't want him to be either. Tampa Bay needs him to be option number 3 or option number 4. Okay. You got maybe the best pair of wideouts in the National Football League, but what Tampa Bay wanted to do is use a lot of 2 tight end personnel with Gronk and O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard he's injured. He's out for the year. And let's face it, Gronk's no longer the best tight end in football. So you got your two wideouts. Let's be clear too. Brady doesn't have the gun to really take the top off the defense. So what you need is a guy to run slants, out routes, get first downs. And you also need somebody who can take the pressure off of Mike Evans or Godwin. So if Tampa Bay can stay healthy from here on out, and that includes Fournette, you don't want to play these guys in the playoffs. Now with Ngakoue, this is huge because Minnesota gave up a second, and they traded him for a third in 2020's draft, this year's draft, or 2021, depending on how you look at it, and a fifth next year. But here's the thing. That second round pick, with the Vikings being as bad as they are, it's going to be a high second round pick, where Baltimore giving up a third, that's almost a fourth, because where's Baltimore going to draft realistically? Realistically, that third round pick is going to be somewhere between pick 88 and below. That's almost a fourth round pick, where Minnesota could be giving up one of the gold picks. And the gold picks in the draft are picks 33 through 39, roughly. Because a lot of times players will draft for need, players will draft quarterbacks. And bottom line, excuse me just one second. So here, I'm just changing some things here. Sorry about this, guys. Yeah, exactly, James. It does feel like Minnesota's tanking. If you follow the draft like I do, those second round picks are gold, because you get a lot of times you can get a first round caliber player in that second round, but the contract just drops in value. And James, DeAndre Swift, this is a first round caliber running back, in my opinion. I had him as running back number one. Detroit gets him in the second round. So Jacksonville has a chance, because remember they're getting the Rams number one. So we're going to have two number ones. And now they're going to have, which could be two picks between 33 and 39. I think Doug Marone's on the hot seat. So whoever takes over that Jacksonville franchise is going to have a ton of draft capital and youth. So that Jacksonville job, I think, is really appealing thanks to this trade. And you're right. It does feel like Minnesota's tanking, because that trade, that's a 50 pick trade, because you're giving up a high second and you're going to get a very low third. There's 50 picks between that. And then, yeah, you get a 2021 or 2022 fifth, but that's great. But it really leads me to believe that Minnesota's given up, and Zimmer's on the hot seat, one of my favorite coaches. And by the way, excuse me, guys, I knew something looked off here. And I apologize, because I am running late. I'm not 100%. Every Friday, I get off work an hour early, but I got to go in at 5, or I wake up at 5. So I'm always running behind on Fridays. I got to work on that. So, but anyway, yeah, James, I 100% agree. It does feel like Minnesota's tanking, and this is really bad because, well, it depends on who you're talking to, but Mike Zimmer, if he's available, I mean, I personally, he would be the guy I would think could get the job in Dallas. Mike Zimmer and Jerry Jones have a really good relationship, and he could also get that head coaching position in Atlanta. And what happens is he takes that position in Atlanta, I think Matt Ryan and Julio Jones stay, and he just works on the defense. And Atlanta could end up being a pretty damn good team. So James points out, well, Cousins' 3 interceptions didn't help either. Would not surprise me if the Cousins. Well, I think you're right, because if you let go of Zimmer and you bring in a coach, more than likely you're just going to blow this team up. You blew up the defense in the offseason, think you're going to have a good offense. Gary Kubiak can take over as an interim head coach. But I really think that if you go in this route, then you do go with a new head coach. Remember, I was talking about Eric Bieniemy. I thought Detroit would be a great fit. I think Eric Bieniemy would be a better fit in Minnesota, which I thought would be completely off limits. But after this trade, I'm thinking Zimmer could be gone. Minnesota's tanking, and they're just going to try to rebuild in 2021. I really surprised about this trade. What does it mean for the Ravens? I always thought Ngakoue was a better fit in a 3-4 defense. This fits like a glove. Calais Campbell, his teammate in Jacksonville, they reunite. They got along. They had a really great relationship. So the Ravens defense has been playing pretty good. They get an additional pass rusher. So, man. All right, Alex comes in. How's it going, Dan? Antonio Brown's talking to the Bucks. It's exactly what we need, a Bucks team with more offensive strength. Yeah, and this is big. I really think this is big. Now, I got the Saints over 10.5 wins, so I'm really pulling for the Saints to keep winning, but I have to look at this logically. I think now this pushes the Bucks into the lead in the NFC South. I was not a believer of the Bucks. And then they got Fournette, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking at a 9-win team, probably a 10-win team. Now I'm looking at this being a 11, maybe even a 12-win team. This is big. This is a big game. And by the way, they did take the line off for Tampa Bay and Vegas. So linebacker U is back, baby. Penn State. I would not go that far. For those of you who do not know, Tim knows this. I was a little kid in Baltimore, and I've been watching Penn State football since I was 4 years old. I was the biggest, just most diehard Penn State fan you will find. Then the scandal happened, and I cannot cheer for Penn State anymore. I'm not anti-Penn State. I don't cheer against them. They're not my team. And it was so hard because I loved watching college football because I had my team in Penn State, and I am no longer a Penn State fan. But I do enjoy watching good college football. I'm going to watch a little bit, not as much as I want to. Oh, before I forget, if you look in the description, all my social media links are below. There will be no show next week. I'll have a show Wednesday. It'll be a short one. I won't have a show Friday. But follow me on social media, and you will see why. I will post some. I'm gonna post a lot of stuff on social media, a ton of stuff on social media. But the videos that I'll make will be very, very short. But of course, you can always email me, and for those of you that have my number, do text me. But those of you that are, by the way, like I said, look below: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, email. Follow me, because I'm going to have a lot of stuff this weekend. I'm just not going to have a YouTube show. There's a good chance I'm going to do some short videos. And by the way, I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but I'm doing something really awesome. I'm doing something really awesome next weekend. So, yeah. And if you're asking, should you be jealous? The answer is correct. Yes. Vikings went with the cousin train after signing him that big extension. The Vikings didn't do anything with that. No, I agree. And this is something that should have worked. But what they did this offseason, they blew up their whole defensive line, a unit that's been together for a long period of time, thinking that they could just rebuild, and they couldn't do it. This is a team that could just go in a completely different direction. Zimmer was on hot seat last year, and then they won a playoff game. Remember, they beat the Saints, and now after this slow start, but you still have Danielle Hunter. He's banged up. He's a phenomenal talent. So I think that this trade just really shows that they've just given up, and Zimmer has, I think, just a few weeks to get things turned around. I'm going to put this down here. The Vikings job, I think it's a great job. And I think the Vikings would be smart to go with a young quarterback. With that extension, it's going to be difficult. But what you could do is that you could easily trade Cousins to a team that may not want to draft a rookie quarterback. Maybe the Jets want the first pick in the draft and they want to, go wide receiver, or maybe they want to go left tackle instead. I don't think they're going to do that. I think the Jets are going to take Trevor Lawrence. But let's say that you want to go in a different direction. You don't want to take a young quarterback. Maybe you can take a guy like Cousins. Maybe the Washington Redskins, that might be a perfect fit for Cousins. That might be a great fit. It'll be very interesting to see. But yes, there's a very, very good chance that Cousins could be gone. I think this says more about the Vikings, but the Ravens really got strong. Dez Bryant also signed to the practice squad. Not that big of a deal. But when he becomes active, the Ravens look like they're just getting better and better and better. And by the way, they play Pittsburgh next week. James asked, what do I think about Quinnen Williams in Detroit? I would love it. This is one of the best players in the draft. The Jets are a complete train wreck. But so I would love Quinnen Williams in Detroit. I just don't see that trade happening. I don't think Detroit. I think both the GM and the head coach are on really thin ice. But this would be great. This would be a great move. I'd be very careful of how much you want to trade, like as far as draft capital, because I think Detroit's a team going into the draft has a lot of holes that they really want to fill. So you can't give up a second. All right. A second or I really think this would be one of those things where you may want to just be like fourth this year and maybe a sixth next year or something like that. But yeah, this would be a great move. Shake money, AB to Tampa. And what do you guys think? I think this propels Tampa into the NFC. I said almost say NFC, into the NFC South lead. That's what I think. That's what I see, is that Tampa Bay is now the NFC South front runner, not the Saints. But remember, the Saints beat Tampa Bay earlier in the season. And Tampa, once they get Emmanuel Sanders and Mike Thomas back, are going to be a dangerous football team. I got them over 10.5, so I want them to do good. So if Tampa gets AB, then I believe the South is there. It's just too. Yeah, I agree. All they got to do is stay healthy. You got Mike. Here's the deal. He just has to be option 3 or 4. Ronald Jones, 3 consecutive 100-yard games. Now Leonard Fournette's going to come back, take some of the blunt, take some of the carries away, which is smart. Very smart. This is a team that plays better when they can run the ball. Because with Brady and these weapons, you can't put 7 in the box. The old saying's 8. I think it's not 7. So yeah, very, very dangerous team. Right now, I think Seattle's easily the best team in the NFC, but I don't think they're a great team because the defense is bad. Where Tampa Bay, they have a good defense. So it'll be very interesting. The NFC South got very, very interesting, but the whole NFC as a whole got very interesting. Big move, good move. Just if you're a Tampa Bay fan or you're a fantasy football fan, just remember Tampa Bay did not add a top 5 wide receiver. Just keep that in mind. They didn't get a top 5 wide receiver. They got a very good, competent number 3 receiver. And that's what you got to think about. All right, Tim, I love offensive football. It's just fun to watch, but defense still, in my opinion, wins a lot of games. Saying that, who do you think has the best D? And second question, best linebacking core? Wow, Tim, 2 good questions. 2 good questions. Best defense. Man, that is a good one. That's actually a tough one. I know points per game. I think it was the Colts for a while. Tim, you may have me stumped. If I had to give just long shot, and it's the answer to both questions, it would be Chicago. And the reason why is that I love Robert Quinn on one side, Khalil Mack on the other, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan. And Danny Trevathan, I'm having a hard time pronouncing his name. he's out of those 4 linebackers, he's the worst one. And he's a really damn good linebacker. Raquan Smith's really, really good. I might have said Pittsburgh. But without Devin Bush, I think really changes it. I will say this: Tampa Bay with Devin White and Levante David have the best pair of linebackers. Those 2 guys are awesome to watch. I'm just the opposite. I love defensive football. I get more excited watching a great defense than I do watching a great offense. They're the best pair of linebackers. Shaq Barrett, also on the outside. You could tell Tampa Bay, if you wanted to say Tampa Bay had the best defense, I wouldn't hate you for it, but I really like Chicago's defense. I really like Chicago's linebacking core too. Khalil Mack, even though the numbers aren't there, he's just a game changer. You got Robert Quinn on the other side. This is a defense I would be very afraid of, and the offense is mediocre. So just off the top of my head, I would answer both those Chicago Bears right now. Keep in mind, health means a lot. Health means a lot. In a couple weeks from now, I may say Tampa Bay. I don't think Carolina will have the best defense, but their defense surprisingly good. I would love it to be my Chiefs. Not possible. Great questions, Tim. Alex, if Zimmer doesn't get anything turned around in the next 2 weeks, well, and then they're definitely going to rebuild with Cousins gone. I think that it's longer than 2 weeks, but at the same time, if they lose their next 2 games and are 1-7, they could go and axe Zimmer. Gary Kubiak's more capable of coming and taking over as interim head coach. So, yeah, my gut reaction, Alex, is to disagree with you, but I think you might be right. Now, Cousins he won't get benched. He'll still be the starter, but I think it's a very good chance that if Minnesota brings in a new head coach and they're going to go with a young quarterback, because that kid, and I always get the 2 mixed up. I always get the 2 guys mixed up. I think Fields is the North Dakota State kid. That's the guy I think that would be perfect in Minnesota. I think they would just love this kid. And then to be honest with you, Cousins, I wouldn't be surprised if Cousins ends up back in Washington, and then Washington uses that high draft pick to fix the offensive line that I think we talked about last show. But Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon, that would be the guy that you go ahead and plug in on the left side, and all of a sudden you got an offensive line. And of course, there's the Haskins situation. You have to trade Haskins, so. A lot of interesting pieces are moving around here. By the way, hey, listen, if you haven't already, give me a thumbs up. By the way, all my social media is below. Add me to social media because I won't be here next week. I am doing something really awesome, and I'm going to post lots of pictures and lots of videos. Trust me, you're going to be jealous. It's going to be awesome. Alex says, Giants somehow blow a game to the Eagles. Both teams look bad, but New York seemed to control that game fourth quarter. And you're 100% correct, Alex. I hate using a basketball analogy, but it's kind of like basketball. I remember when LeBron's first year against Miami, with Miami, they played against Dallas, and they were obviously more talented, but Dallas knew how to close games. Dallas could close games out, and then LeBron had to figure out how to close games out. Same type of deal. The Giants don't know how to close games out. But there's a lot of that defense is good. I don't know about the quarterback. I had a draft crush on him, but he may be one of those. They need to fix that offensive line. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. But they got to fix that offensive line. They have to fix that offensive line. But the defense is good. But one thing they don't have a pass rusher. They need a pass rusher. A guy like Ngakoue would have been perfect for the Giants. They need a pass rusher. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the Giants because they need to fix that offensive line. They could also use a wide receiver, and they need a pass rusher. But the defense is solid. It's really rare that you look at a team as bad as the Giants and say this is a really good defense, but Giants legitimately have a top 10 defense. The defense is solid. They don't know how to close games out. There's no leader. There's not a real leader on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. And I said this at the beginning of the year. It's like, what about the Giants? Here's the problem with the Giants. There's nobody on this roster that players can turn to and say, hey, it's on me. Maybe Saquon Barkley. Maybe. And you know what happened to him. So this is a team that in 2021 could be really dangerous, though. But yeah. Alex says Bears are going to snag a wild card spot. I could see that. I mean, right now, definitely. It'll be very, very interesting to see what happens. But this is a team with good defense. Foles just has to play average. I really think they need to run the ball more, which they haven't been doing. So Tim says, I've seen talk that the Jets get the number 1 pick. Lawrence may stay at Clemson one more year. I don't see it, but what do you think? Hard to turn down NFL and the money, but crazier things have happened. Okay, actually, Tim, this is a great point. Nobody will believe me, but this is true. Carolina back in 2011, I think it was 2011. The owner came out and said, as soon as Andrew Luck declares, because Andrew Luck was a junior and consensus number 1 pick, as soon as Andrew Luck announces he's eligible, we're going to draft him. We're going to take Andrew Luck. 3 days later, Andrew Luck says he's going back to school. And they took Cam Newton instead. Because in that draft, Andrew Luck was a much better prospect than Cam Newton. Andrew Luck was a 3-year starter, where Cam Newton had that 1 year. Plus, he got he had that incident in Florida where he had a stolen laptop. So Andrew Luck would have been the pick. Andrew Luck would have been the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. I think Andrew Luck said, "I don't want to play for the Carolina Panthers." He didn't want to be public about it. And so he said, you know what, I'm going to stay in school. So could Trevor Lawrence do the same thing? 100%. 100%. He could 100% say, you know what, I'm going to pass. And by the way, if he gets injured, Sam Bradford got injured, and Trevor Lawrence is a better prospect than Sam Bradford. So he doesn't lose anything. Here's the thing. Even though you're the number 1 pick in the draft, you don't have to enter the draft. He may just say, you know what, I don't want to play for the Jets. He could do what Brian Bosworth did, enter the supplemental draft. I don't think that's going to happen. He may just say, you know what, I can head back to college, have a chance for another national championship. Maybe he wants to win a Heisman Trophy. But yeah, this could 100% happen. Now, the talk that you're hearing is not from Trevor Lawrence, so I want you to be careful. But everything I've seen about Trevor Lawrence, he's a very religious kid. New York, I mean, South Carolina's in the South. You have to realize New York's a very appealing city for a lot of professional athletes due to the marketing, due to endorsements. A kid like Trevor Lawrence, it may not be appealing. A lot of it's going to have to do with whoever becomes the coach, because I think whoever takes over the Jets has to have a good relationship with Trevor Lawrence. Or what the Jets may do is that if Trevor Lawrence doesn't come out, they may go ahead and sign a guy like Kirk Cousins, use that first-round pick on Jamar Chase. Very good point, Tim. And by the way, like I said, Andrew Luck, I can't prove – I've never talked to Andrew Luck before, but here's the timeline. The Carolina Panthers owner came out publicly and said, we're going to take Andrew Luck. A few days later, Andrew Luck announces he's going to go back to school. And if you remember at the time, Andrew Luck was easily going to go number 1 that year. So he went number 1 year later, and he ended up in a better situation with Indianapolis. So, yeah, you can call me Funk. Bears about to go on a losing streak. They very well could. I don't see them winning the division. However, against the Rams, I like them against the Rams. The line's going up in the Rams' favor. I don't see that. Music City guy, what is up, brother? He's saying, do I think Raheem Morris has a chance at the Falcons head coaching job if he turns it around? Absolutely. But what Arthur Blank's done by firing the general manager is that he's basically opened it up for a new coach and a new GM. And when you fire both the GM and the head coach, you're trying to get a high profile guy. And Raheem Morris is not that. Now, he was the coach for Tampa Bay for a couple of years. I don't think he deserved to get fired, to be honest, but he's auditioning himself for both a defensive coordinator position and a possible head coach position. I've never spoken to Raheem Morris. Does he want to take a college job? Because what you're seeing with Carolina's success is that there's going to be more and more teams. This is a copycat league. So what you're going to see are people looking at college head coaches and saying, hey, come to the NFL, bring your defensive coordinator, bring your offensive coordinator. And it worked in Carolina, which was supposed to be a dumpster fire. It can work here. And you're going to see this. There's going to be a team that's going to hire a coaching staff from the college ranks. So you're going to see that. So is there a chance Raheem Morris wants to go to college? I don't know. But I will say this. Both Lovie Smith, who's at Illinois, and Herm Edwards, who went to Arizona State, have had success. So it's all with Atlanta. It's all going to be about the GM, but more than likely, I would say the odds are very, very small because when you fire the GM midway through the season, you're trying to land a big fish. And I would have to, last year when the Redskins hired, I'm drawing a blank on the name, the interim position. When Jay Gruden got fired, I'm drawing a complete blank on who the coach was. I said that he'd have to win a minimum of 4 games to be considered. Minimum of 4. And he didn't hit that. I think the Falcons, I think the Falcons would have to finish close to 500. I'm thinking maybe 7. And that's a big number. But I would say if you have to give me a percentage, I'd say like 10% chance. And he'd have to do a great job. Keep in mind, I would love it. I think it would almost be a great move if they would keep the coaching staff intact because Dirk Cutter, who did a pretty good job as a head coach, guy with a world of coaching experience. Matter of fact, Dirk Cutter, the Falcons offensive coordinator, was the guy who gave Andy Reid his first coaching job. So, he's been in the coaching ranks for a very long time, both coach in college and pro. So, yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't be a bad idea. All depends on the GM. James says Michigan. I'm so sorry, James. Michigan State 11-point favorite over Rutgers, 44.5 over under. I'm not betting on any college, but I'm going to DVR a lot. I'm going to try to get to it. My Saturday's kind of hectic. I had to drink some coffee. I know it's 7:30 at night. I'm drinking coffee. But I actually am really excited to watch Big Ten football. Really excited. Alex says Bears, in my opinion, have a good chance to make it into the postseason. Vikings aren't going to do anything. The Lions are in limbo. I see Green Bay taking the division. Bears are second best. 100% agree with you, Alex. 100% agree with you. I think that the defense is good. The one thing, every time I watch Chicago, I always feel like they need to run the ball more. But right now I agree with you. I think Green Bay is going to win that division, and Chicago has as good of a chance as anybody to get a wild card. And by the way, this is a big game for both the Rams and the Bears because it's going to be for a wild card spot. I don't think either team's really in a good enough position to win the division, but I think both teams are capable of going to a wild card. So the winner is going to have a leg up in the wild card race, which I think will end up being a race. So Funk reminds us that the Bears' schedule is about to get tougher. Montgomery already hurt his neck once this year. The defense is great, but the offense is god awful. I don't know if god awful. I want to be sentimental. Here's the thing. I'm going to use air quotes here. There's a couple guys that I used to hang out with when I was in my, you have those friends, how you have those friends in your 20s that you got to leave behind because they just drag you down. I had a couple of those friends and they were Bears fans, but Lions fans, Packers fans, Lions fans, love them all. Lions fans, of course I got Funk here. James was here. I love the Luke G show. Excuse me. And, so, I got a lot of love for the Lions, but Packers fans and Vikings fans have been nothing but awesome. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I got a little bit of hiccups here. But my point is that Bears fans suck. Bears fans suck. So it's kind of weird for me to want to argue this with you, but they got some good receivers. I think Foles will continue to play better, but yeah. Alex, Dolphins starting Tua. I wonder if this hurt the locker room since they left Fitzpatrick, and Fitz had a very bad reaction to the news. I was thinking the same thing. I was really thinking the same thing because this to me was a bad decision. And I think that no matter what happens, even if the Dolphins play better, even if the Dolphins even get to the playoffs, they're trying to, when you draft a quarterback in the top 5, you want to be the quarterback for the next 10 years, not this year. I agree with you. If you remember when Eli Manning was the quarterback, the Giants started off, I think it was 5-4 or 3-4, something like that. And then they benched Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback, for Eli Manning, and then he went 0-9. Now, it ended up working out because Eli had a successful career and a couple Super Bowl wins, but it did hurt the locker room for that year. I could see this being a team that ends up finishing 5-11. So keep in mind, because they also have Houston's picks, maybe it doesn't matter as much. I thought it was a bad move. So Music City guy, and I agree with this comment completely. Morris is a sentimental favorite for me. Didn't get a fair shake in Tampa Bay. I agree. He did not get a fair shake. I would like to see him get another job. With Atlanta, it all depends on the GM and who takes over. If he does a good enough job, Arthur Blank may just say, I'm going to keep the coaching staff intact, and then I'm going to go ahead and hire a draft guy and a personnel guy to take over as GM. And he's never done this before, and I don't think he wants to do this, but he could take an approach like the Chiefs owner did and have both the head coach and general manager report directly to him. I don't think he's going to take that approach. I think he's going to take an approach. He wants to just be the owner, sign the checks, watch the team, and then hire a football guy to go ahead and run the team. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I'm pulling for him. But I would say if you had to give me a number, I'd say 10%, maybe less. But he may do a good enough job to get a job. There's going to be multiple openings that are going to be available. And Raheem Morris might be a perfect fit for maybe the Jets, maybe Minnesota, Detroit. Keep in mind, they got a big game this week too. So Tim says, I have to pull for Drew Lock because his dad went to my high school a few years older than me. So I pull for the kid, not against the Chiefs, of course. Do I see him having a good long career? Tim, I went to the same high school as Drew Lock, different years. So I pull for him. I knew about him when he was a junior in Lee Summit because I went to Lee Summit. So I knew about Drew Lock when he was 16 years old. Matter of fact, my last job, the guy graduated with Drew Lock. I think it was 1 year difference. He's like 1 or 2 years, 2 years older than Lock. But he's like, yeah, man, I went to a couple parties with Drew. He just drank beer, real nice guy. He didn't think anything of it. He's not a football guy. So I will always pull for Drew Lock, regardless of where he goes. Do I see him having a good long career? The answer is yes. But I think the situation in Denver is a little weird. All right. And I don't have any Broncos fans in the house, but I think with a defensive-minded head coach, that's always going to hinder him. He doesn't have a good veteran quarterback that he got to learn under. And then when Flacco was there, they asked Flacco when they drafted Locke, hey, what are you going to be a mentor? He's like, my job's to win games, not to tutor some kid. And so he has some things working against him. But if Elway stays there, and I think there is going to be a coaching change in Denver, but do you bring in an offensive-minded guy? That's going to be very important. There's so many factors that are involved with somebody having a good career, but of course I'm pulling for him, yeah. I think right now, for the rest of the season, I don't think Denver has a good team. They need to fix that offensive line, which has not played well, and they've also had injuries. Fant's coming back this week, which I'm going to break down all the games. So we're going to talk about this game in detail. And as a matter of fact, I got the Denver weather report, and it's the game time. It looks like it's guaranteed snow and wind. I should have took the under at 49. So, yeah. Alex says Bears have beaten a lot of quality teams, even with the tough schedule. I can believe that. I think that they have a chance for a wild card, but I mean, it's just too early. But they're a dangerous team. Alex, we'll see what happens. They're only quality wins over Tampa Bay. Bears fans are, I like I said, I hung out with a couple of guys I had to cut ties with, and I think everybody, I don't know how old everybody is on here. I know Tim's a few years younger than me. Tim, I don't think you had this situation, but I had a couple of guys that like I kind of grew up with that were just going down the wrong path, and I was like, look, I gotta do my own thing. And so like I kind of want to cheer against Chicago, but at the same time, I liked Matt Nagy. The job he did here with Kansas City. And I'm also a fan of good defense, and that's something the Bears do have. So, but yeah, the Bears fans in general thumb suck. Packers fans were really cool at Arrowhead last year. Vikings fans were super cool. And of course, Funk, I love you. James, I don't know if he's still in or not, but I got lots of love from Detroit. So I'm always going to pull for Detroit. So of all the teams in the NFC North, the Bears are the only one that's like, I'm not a big fan. Yeah. But the fans for the NFC North have always been really cool. But I don't want to go on a rant here, but the Vikings fans were sitting right behind me last year at Arrowhead. They were doing that Skull chant, and I was like, what the hell is that? And they explained it. It was really cool. And there's a couple girls that sit 2 rows in front of us. They just suck. They told the Vikings fan to shut the F up and start chewing them out. And they were super, super cool too. I have to do like my favorite fans. It would be Packers and Vikings at Arrowhead, and the least favorite. I have to do that sometime. One of these days I'll figure it out. Little back and forth here with Funk and Alex, and that's awesome. Bears fans are equivalent to Red Sox fans. They ain't as bad as Dallas, which is equivalent to Yankees, but they're still bad. Yeah, Dallas. Philly fans are almost as bad as Dallas fans. There was one game. Dallas fans and Philly fans are super obnoxious. They're probably my 2 least favorite fans. It's kind of funny because the big rivals, the Raiders and Broncos, have really had a lot of really cool fans. I've really enjoyed Raiders and Broncos fans. There's this one crazy older lady who came to the last 2 Chiefs Raiders games. It was like 20 degrees. She wore jean shorts and chain smoked. And like the first game 2 years ago, she left after like 5 minutes. And then she left at halftime the second year and watched maybe 5 minutes of the game. She just chain smoked constantly. It was really weird. But Raiders fans are actually really cool. And I've always gotten along really good with Broncos fans. Chargers fans are a little strange. The last couple of years, they've really been non-existent. But out of the 3 fan bases, Chargers fans are easily the most douchiest. But I enjoy all 3 of those fans much more than I enjoy either Dallas or Philly. So, yeah. Funk was saying that D could carry them. If I was a Bears fan, I wouldn't be. I 100% agree with that. Alex points out, I think the offense, this is really cool. Alex and Funk going back and forth here. I love it. I think the offense will get scores and the D will close games for the Bears. I don't think they'll get past the first round in the postseason, though they need a better O to win there. It'll really depend on injuries and who they play. Nice fans analogy. Alex says, I like watching baseball. I didn't know the World Series. I thought Game 3 was tomorrow. I don't even follow baseball. I know because I listen to the PTI podcast. It's Dodgers and Rays, I think. I when the Royals won the World Series, I didn't watch a single pitch. Just didn't care. I don't follow baseball. I only follow football. That's it. A road playoff game. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. Tim says last year at Arrowhead saw a Colts fan knock out a Chiefs fan. Then the dude got thumped. It was crazy. You know what I did? It was 2 years ago. I didn't go to playoff games last year. 2 years ago, it was raining slush, and I've had season tickets since '89, so I'm a trained veteran. I have gear. I have 2 laundry baskets of clothes just to wear to Arrowhead. So I got these thick waterproof boots, and I used almost a whole can of Kiwi spray, the waterproofing agent. So anyway, I'm walking behind this Colts fan, and there's slush, and he's wearing just tennis shoes and socks, and I purposely was just dragging my feet so I could kick slush on him. And I was doing this for a while, and he finally turned around, and I'm bundled up. I got it was like 20 and raining snow, so I got like a scarf on and a jacket and a hood and the whole 9 yards. And so like he couldn't tell. He couldn't tell what I was doing, but yeah, I did it on purpose. It was a dick move, but hey, look, you come to Arrowhead and you're not prepared. Hey man, yeah, and let me tell you a secret. If you go to a football game and it's below 20 and you're wearing tennis shoes and they get wet, there's a 100% chance you're going to be cold and a 100% chance you're going to be miserable. Trust me. Yeah, I was kind of a dick, but fuck him. Alex says I need to come down and watch the Texans game live. We're very good down here. At least when I go to games, Texans fans are very nice to other fans. My sister and her husband, I want to say, I think it was 2016, the 30-0 game. They went down there and they said it was, they said the Texans fans were pretty cool. My sister's been to several road games. I've been to Arrowhead over 300 times. I have never been to a road game. Never. I've never been to an opposing stadium. And I always wondered how I would respond to it. But long time ago, I was down in Fort Hood. I used to be in the Army Reserve, so I've been down in Fort Hood. I've been to Fort Worth, Dallas area several times. Had a blast. I actually really, really love Texas. So I love coming down there. And you know what? I probably need to do more travels, but Houston's a town I would love to go to. I probably won't get there this year, but I do need to do more traveling. That's definitely a thing. I will let you know, man. If I come down to Houston, I will definitely let you know, man. Drinks are on me, man. So, okay, game 3 today. And then, the presidential debate. Not a political show, but I piggybacked my buddy's bet. So I have action on the presidential election. So I'll leave it at that. And NRG is a very nice stadium. It's inside, so you don't have to worry about the weather. My sister said it was really awesome. She liked the Jacksonville stadium too. She said that was cool. I didn't ask her like which one's better, but just on TV, it looks awesome. On TV, it looks awesome. It's kind of a bucket list thing for me to go to an opposing stadium. I'm not going to a Denver stadium. I've heard different things about Mile High. More than likely, one of these days, I'll probably check out a Vegas game. That'll probably be the number one is the Vegas one, but yeah. All right. So I'm looking at the weather report right now for the Chiefs game. And I'm really thinking I should have took under now because I was hoping that it wasn't going to because there's a difference between snow showers and snow. But here's what I'm looking at. 17 miles an hour, 11 mile an hour wind, 75% chance of snow. And because the over-under has just been plummeting on the Chiefs game. It's just been falling and falling. I checked about 30 minutes ago, and I'm going to go over all the games. It was at 48. Now it's 44 and a half. So I'm really, really thinking that I should have put action on the under sooner, but I'm going to keep an eye on the weather report. And I really want to take the over just because it's such a small number. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over all the games. Kind of same thing that we did last time, but I got updated spreads, and I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you think. So I'm just going to go ahead and start here with I believe the venue is changing stadium's name to Ball Field or something like that. I think it's called Pepsi Stadium right now. They're talking about changing Arrowhead. They're thinking about changing Arrowhead to something, and that would break my heart. But I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Chiefs owner lives in Dallas. So a lot of people don't think Mahomes doesn't care about. No, here's a secret. All right, here's a secret, and James, I agree. NFL teams can play in the snow. It's wetness and rain. That's why if it's just snowing and cold, take the over. Definitely take the over. I'm going to eyeball this because if I hit Pittsburgh early enough, then I'll probably put some action down on some of these afternoon games. So we'll start here, and I could have sworn this was 3.5, but I'm gonna go ahead. I think this was the 3.5 bounce back down to 3. I took my bookie off. These are all numbers from my bookie, and I forgot to put a share to the link below. If you guys want to, I can put a link to my bookie. Again, I don't endorse them. It's just that I live here in the Midwest. I strongly suggest if you can put action down at a casino. Then do that. But if you're like myself and you want to put action down on games, I can leave you a link to my bookie. Just let me know in the comments if you want a link to my bookie. I'll put it down there for you. It's not a big deal. But I didn't do it in the show. I made sure my social media was there, but I didn't put anything else. Cleveland at Cincinnati, the over-under is 50.5. I was really hoping this would drop, but it's been pretty steady. I would probably take Cleveland in this one if I had to. I would probably take Cleveland in this one. Yeah, I agree. Remember last game that was in Cincinnati, it was 35-30, but it was 35-23. They got that touchdown late. I'm probably going to pass on this one. I really wanted to get Cleveland under a field goal, but I do agree with you, Alex. I just think that Cleveland easily, and it's weird to say, but I think Cleveland easily has the better team. Easily. The over-under on this game has been dropping, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I really like Washington. I was saying Dallas, but I mean, the defensive line against a banged-up offensive line, I mean, man. Pete, what is up, brother? Rewind before Sunday, but good luck. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here, brother. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here. And, yeah, we're about 50 minutes into it. I just started talking about the games. We talked a little bit about Antonio Brown, and we're talking about just the games right now. So you came in at the perfect time. Glad to see you, man. Glad to see you, brother. Alex is saying, I'm thinking higher of Washington right now. They're at home, and Dallas is banged up. But I'll say it's smarter to pick Dallas. I'm not going to pick either one, but early I was thinking Dallas, but then I'm looking at matchups, and that's what I look at more than anything. I look at matchups, and here's what I'm looking at. A really good, solid defensive line that Washington has versus a really bad offensive line. And that's what kind of has me leaning towards the Redskins. I'm going to pass on this game, but yeah, I kind of agree with you, man. This game, the over-under has dropped a little bit. I was actually expecting it to go up, but 55 is still a very, very high number. I saw that it dropped a little bit. The line's kind of played around, but it's now at 2.5. It stayed at 2.5. This is a big game. And the reason why, okay, it's really rare that you have two teams with losing records playing in a big game. I don't think either one of these teams are going to the playoffs, but the reason why it's a big game is because if the Falcons win by a couple touchdowns, and you have Raheem Morris, who's adding to his resume. But what it also means if Atlanta wins big is Matt Patricia is on the hot seat. He is definitely on hot seat. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If Detroit wins this game and they're 3-3, and with Minnesota, looks like they're just tanking. Chicago, which has a good defense, has some issues on offense. Green Bay, which looked like they gave up in the third quarter of that game. Detroit fans, I'm going to tell you this, Detroit fans are going to be fun. Logically, I think Atlanta's going to win. I think Atlanta's going to cover. The smart bet's 55. I would think it'd be a little fun because I got some love from Detroit. So I mean, I'll be honest. I'm kind of pulling for Detroit. I like the over. Atlanta should beat Detroit. The Detroit O-line doesn't look great against that Falcons defense. Alex, I actually disagree with you. The Lions' offensive line has been really good. And Atlanta, they had a good game last week, but that defensive line is not good. You got Grady Jarrett. So I like the matchup of Detroit's offensive line against the Falcons defense. That's why I think the over is a big play, because I think Detroit's going to – there's no way Atlanta's going to hold Detroit to under 20. No way. That's why I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a really exciting game. Now, keep in mind, I'm watching NFL Red Zone. The early game I'm probably going to pay more attention to is Pittsburgh in Tennessee, because I got action on this one. But the play here is the over, and Detroit's offensive line is actually really good. So, and then the Saints. Yeah, I do agree with this here too, Alex. I think, and I'll just go ahead and move it down here. This has been going down. This is a game that I strongly recommend if you bet this, take a teaser. I'm toying around with this because it went from 7.5 to 6. The Saints didn't do good off of bye last year. That's been kind of a weird trend with the Saints. Some teams like Green Bay do worse after a bye, where Carolina's played some pretty good defense. I think the Saints will win. More than likely, I think Carolina will cover, but the over-under's been dropping. I think this is a game that you put Carolina on a teaser and then take Carolina plus 13 or 13.5. I will probably pass on this game because I really need the Saints to win, because I got money on the Saints over 10.5 wins. So at 3-2 with Emmanuel Sanders. By the way, Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas are not playing, so that's a big one. Tim says, I know you will get to this, but I think Murray outplays Wilson this weekend. Call it crazy, just a gut feeling. I kind of have a secret love affair with Arizona. That's definitely a possibility, because Seattle's defense is not good. Seattle's defense is not good. So I think this is going to be a shootout, and I will talk about it, but I think the play is the over. I was really hoping Seattle dropped the 3. I'll get to it later, but actually, I'm gonna put a pin in that, because Alex and Funk are going. And by the way, like I just want to let you guys know, I love the trash talk. I love it when people disagree. I love the back and forth. Just a friendly reminder, and I'm not saying you guys haven't, but just friendly reminder. We're gonna keep this professional. My boy Funk stole the line from me because me and him disagreed on the draft. We kept on going back and forth. And Funk's like, isn't it great how two grown men can sit here and talk sports and disagree without one calling the other one the names? Just a friendly reminder. I'm not saying you guys haven't been doing that, but just letting you guys know. But Funk points this out. And by the way, yeah, PFF is garbage. Anytime somebody throws out some PFF stats, I usually just no, I hate PFF. That's a different thing. But yeah, I didn't know this, but I do know the offensive lines played very, very good. And that's why I think the smart play is really the over. I think this is going to be a shootout. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. Really fun game. I'm going to have Pittsburgh and Tennessee on, unfortunately, but I'm going to be looking at the red zone. I'm probably going to kick myself because I could easily see this being something crazy like 14 to 17 in the first quarter, and I'm going to say, yeah, I should have took the over. Alex says, I just don't trust Detroit, and I think the Atlanta defense is better than Detroit's. That's actually interesting. Neither team has a good defense. That's kind of why I think the smart play is to over. So the thing about the Lions-Falcon game, both have a following, a QB that can sling it, legit receive. Exactly, Funk. Now you got me wanting to bet the over, which just dropped a little. I'll probably pass on it. But if you're going to bet this game, bet the over. That's how I see it. If you've been following this has been kind of interesting. Buffalo at the Jets. Sam Darnold gets the start off of an injury. This was at 13, and it's just been dropping. And I almost want to put action on Buffalo minus 10.5. I really think Buffalo, after losing to two really good teams, I think they really want to. I think they're going to come out mad. The Jets look like they're about ready to implode at any moment now. So this could easily be a blow. If you had to pick, give me a blowout game. This is how I see it. I see this as a blowout game. So even though the line is a double-digit game, that's kind of how I see it. And Alex is going to respond. Both teams almost died in the fourth quarter. You got a good point. That's actually a trend that you could bet on if you wanted to. But again, I think it's going to be a really fun game. Atlanta, Detroit. Of course, I'll be watching Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I got 100 on it. So, next game, Green Bay at Houston, and I'm almost positive this went to 4, and I just overlooked it. I'm almost positive. The over-under dipped a little bit. I think this is another game that's going to be a high-scoring game. How Green Bay is going to respond after a loss. What does Houston have left? Because I've been trying to tell people I don't buy Green Bay's defense. I don't think Green Bay's defense is all that good. I really don't believe in Green Bay's defense. I'm just going to level with you right now. I don't believe in it. So I don't believe in Green Bay's defense. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I would bet the over on this game because I think it's going to be a fun game. I could have sworn the over went to 4. I could have sworn this was Houston and 4, but I don't have my bookie up right now. You may be able to get 4, 3.5. If you're going to put action on the game, I'd love to know if you're going to take Houston. I think the play has got to be the over. This to me seems a shootout. I kind of want to see how Green Bay responds. I really want to see how it responds. This is pretty damn good. Oh, man, I'm trying not to bust up laughing here. I joked and predicted that the Lions game was going to be 51-49 with 4 2-score lean changes, a safety in overtime because both teams really – I almost want to put action on the over – just to have some action on the game. I might do it. I'll probably pass, but I think I'm going to end up regretting not putting action on the over on that one. Seattle and Arizona. Tim brought up a point. He's got a love affair with Arizona. Losing Chandler Jones and beating up a really bad Dallas team may have people overinflated. I was really hoping I could get 3. It actually dropped the 3 for a second, but it came back up to 3.5. The over-unders dipped a little bit, and I kind of think that could be the play, would be over. Seattle does not have a good defense. Out of these two teams, Arizona actually has the better defense. Kyler Murray is so much fun to watch, but I think this is going to be a fun shootout. But here's the thing. In the past, these games have been low-scoring games. I'm going to pass on this one because they've been low scoring in the past. So I have had the weather report meticulously watching because it was 48. It was actually 49. I think it opened at 49 or 50. And because it'll snow, it's just been dropping. I'm going to keep an eye out on the weather report. I'm not going to bet the under, but if it looks like it's just snow and wind and cold, I'm going to put action on the over. I really want to bet the over because I think Kansas City could put up 45 by themselves. I really believe that. I mean, Denver also has some players coming off injury reserve. I think Melvin Gordon's going to play. Noah Fant, who didn't play against New England, is going to play. That's a big deal because that is a weakness of the Kansas City Chiefs defense, the linebacking unit. Excuse me. So I really want to bet on the over. I'm going to eyeball the weather up until game time, and if it just looks like snow, I'm going to put some action on the over. I really want to bet the over regardless, just because this is you got the Kansas City Chiefs with Le'Veon Bell and an over-under in a game with 44.5. I mean, I know action's heavy on the under, but if it's just snow and that's it, I'm definitely taking over. I love Arizona, but I think the Seattle offense will drown them. I'm sure it'll be a close game, but Seattle should score enough to win. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to bet the game. Normally these two teams play in low-scoring games. That's why I'm not putting action on it, because everything in this game screams over. But if you look at the past, these guys have played some low-scoring, tough, close games. I think I'm just going to enjoy that game, but I would probably, if I had to bet it, I would take the over, or I would get Seattle in 3. I'm not taking 3.5. I'm not taking hook. Next, Jacksonville at the Chargers. The over-under is 49. Chargers are a 7.5-point favorite. This is a game that I really think Doug Marrone, the Jacksonville coach, is on the hot seat. He's a guy that, if they look really bad, could be fired any week now. Jacksonville has a lot of draft capital. And I like Gardner Minshew. They have some really interesting pieces in play. And keep in mind, Jay Gruden, the former Redskins coach, he's now the offensive coordinator. He would step right in and be the head coach. I forgot who it was who said it. Music City guy, if you're still here, Raheem Morris would be a perfect fit here. If he plays well, he'll be a big candidate for Jacksonville. This would be interesting to watch because here's what I see is that every week Jacksonville loses. If they lose worse and worse and worse, then there's a strong possibility that he's just going to get fired. And so that's kind of the way I look at it. Alex says Chiefs going to ball out against the Broncos. Broncos, even with the win over New England at home, I see Kansas City's D stopping. I think, to tell you the truth, Kansas City, this was at 10. At 8, I almost want to take Kansas City, but the play is going to be the over depending on how bad the weather looks. But like I said, if it's just snow, rush to the window and put action on the over, because Denver has some players some skill position players on offense that didn't play, and they'll score a few points. But this could easily, and if it's a close game, do you really think it's going to be a low scoring game? If it's just snow, it's not. So I'm eyeballing this one. Alex points out Chargers beating the Jags, no doubt in my mind. I want to agree with that, but here's the thing. The Chargers have lost 4 straight, and people keep thinking the Chargers have a good team. They have some good pieces. They don't have a good team. They really don't. But Jacksonville looks like a team that's kind of fallen apart, unfortunately, because after that week 1 win, I was like, man, maybe there's a chance. Now they look like a team that's going to win 2 or 3 games. All right. This is a game that I am eyeballing because I really like Chicago in 6. People have been really high on the Rams. I know they're at home, but I really like the Bears in 6 in this one. I really do. The last I saw, the money line was 200, which means a $100 wager will win you 200. And I was tempted to do that. If I'm going to bet this game, I'm just going to take the Bears. Depending on how I do on these 2 games, will determine, because if I win both of these, I'll probably go ahead and take Chicago in 6. If not, then I might just pass. We'll have to see. Alex says I choose Chargers over them because the Jags look horrendous, bit because the Chargers are complete. I don't think they're complete. I think the defense is solid. The defense is good. They have some playmakers on defense. Not a great defense, but a good defense. The rookie quarterback, Keenan Allen's been banged up. Mike Williams, a very solid number 2. Hunter Henry, a really good tight end. They have some issues in the running game. Offensive line has some issues. Neither one of these teams are going to finish above 500. I mean, that's just how I not bit or not because okay, I get it. You meant not because I think the Chargers are okay. Okay, I get it. Now you're saying it's more Jacksonville just looking like garbage than the Chargers looking good. That I agree with. However, 7.5 is too much. Too much. I'm just going to enjoy that game. This game, Tampa Bay and Vegas, is off. I was really waiting for Tampa Bay to drop, but just the opposite. Opened at 3 and actually went up. The over-under has been dropping, which is interesting because I really wanted under 53.5, but now it's 52. It's now unavailable. I'm going to just ignore this. I'm 99% sure I should, because it just happened a few minutes ago as I was doing show prep. Antonio Brown signed with Tampa Bay. He's not going to play in this game. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next week, and that's something I'm going to follow. This game currently is off the books. I'm not going to touch this one, but I thought it was interesting because it was in Vegas. I really thought Vegas would get some action, but it didn't work that way. So this is a game I got action on. This is the afternoon game. I got New England. It actually went down, but it's back at 2.5. So, wow. I got action on it. The over-under is 44.5. New England's a 2.5-point favorite. I thought it would jump up to 3. It went from 2.5 to 2, but now it's back at 2.5. I got New England covering 2.5 at home after a loss. Now, Pete here says, I think San Francisco blows out New England. The weakness of San Fran is the secondary, and that isn't the strength of the Pats right now. I get where you're coming from, but remember, they only had one practice, and Cam Newton had the COVID. He was in COVID protocol, and so he didn't play the week before against Kansas City. Then he only had one practice, and he's still learning the offense. So with him having a full week of practice, and one thing about New England is I think New England can stop the run. That the running game, they're not going to have the same type of success they did against the Rams. Very good point. And keep in mind, this is never going to be a show where everybody has to agree with me. This is never going to be a show where I have to be right. Everybody else has to fall in line. No, I want to hear people have different opinions. I'm putting action on New England, but Pete pulls out a really good point, and that San Francisco blows out New England because San Francisco's weakness is something that New England can't exploit, and that's a good point. Here he goes on furthermore. The Niners will load the box against Miami. Only difference is Fitz had weapons to win one-on-one matchups, not the Pats. I get that because Edelman's not looked good. N'Keal Harry, a former number 1 pick, has not gone up yet. He's a guy that had a major draft crush on, loved him at Arizona State. He hasn't come together yet. And Cam Newton's not nearly the passer. I mean, this is a team that wants to – it's funny because both these teams want to run the ball. I think that the way it's going to happen is I think New England's front seven was still one of the best front sevens in football. I think they'll be successful really frustrating Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think New England will be able to run the ball on San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco's defense is great, but they played really good against the Rams. I don't think they'll have the same amount of success. I'm not going. I'm telling you right now, Bill Belichick, after a loss at home, a bad loss, I'm not going against Belichick. Alex says this game should go to New England, even with the Niners looking somewhat good. I think Newton should be good enough to beat the D. I think that Cam Newton with being back with the team. Remember, he was in the COVID protocol, and they only had one practice, so that's kind of how I see. I see it. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I've not been a believer of San Francisco traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast. I think that New England's defense is really going to create some problems. I can see the Pats win if the defense holds them to field goals and exactly, and I think that the defense is going to make plays. San Francisco's offense has not really been able to put everything together. Yeah, they're going to be a little healthier. Remember, Raheem Mostert, whatever, he's out. He's not playing, and he was doing really, really well. So you don't have the number one running back. Jimmy Garoppolo is banged up and not really that good. So that's kind of my thought process, but I'm mostly banking on Bill Belichick after a loss has been gold. So, in the game, I'm putting two separate bets on because I completely misread this. When Pittsburgh was a 1.5 point favorite, I thought it would jump up to 2, maybe 3. Instead, Tennessee is now a 1.5 point favorite. So, with me doing bad this year, I mean, right now I'm at a loss. I'm losing money. A lot of channels that, especially to talk about point spreads and gambling, I don't know if one I'll just flat out admit, hey, I'm losing for the year, but hey, I'm losing for the year. So it doesn't surprise me I misread this. The over-under has also been dropping. This might be a really, really good bet because I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Tennessee does not have a good defense. Pittsburgh has the better defense, but losing Devin Bush is big. I think Tennessee will be able to run the ball in Pittsburgh, but I think Pittsburgh can score enough. Of course, I got action on Pittsburgh, so I obviously want them to win. The one thing that's not debatable is who has the better defense. That's not a debate. So that's why I kind of like Pittsburgh. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. I know Jimmy, I haven't seen him in the chat, so but he also took action on Pittsburgh. I don't see any wild card teams that come out of the AFC West or the NFC East. NFC East, I agree, but AFC West, I will disagree. I think the Raiders are a wild card team. I think they're going to finish with about 9 to 10 wins. And what I see with the Raiders is I think you're going to have a 9-10 win team. I think you're going to have a 9-10 win team. You're either going to have Pittsburgh or Baltimore the way those teams are going. One of those teams is going to win the division. One's going to be a wild card. I think in the AFC South, you have the potential of the Colts finishing with 9-10 wins. In the AFC North, I don't think Cleveland's going to be sustainable. And the same thing with the AFC East. The Bills, I don't believe in. So I think it's going to come down to like Bills, Raiders, and both those teams could get in. I think the Raiders make it. The NFC East, yeah. Music City guy, I should be. I'm thinking I'm almost regretting. I thought it would actually go up. It's gone down, and I'm kind of regretting not putting action on the over. Being that this is the early game, I probably won't put action down, but I really want to put some money on the over. I really want to put action down on the over, and I might do that. I made a decision not to make a weekly video. I just said that, hey, look, I'm going to put my picks here on my live stream. I'm going to share it with the guys that want to see it. And then, of course, you can always email me, hit me up on social media if you're dying to know what else I do. But I'm really thinking instead of putting an extra 50 on the money line, I should have put 50 on the over. I might put 50 on the over. We'll have to wait and see. I'll just kind of eyeball it. I kind of want to keep it because I'm still eyeballing this right here. I'm eyeballing this. I'm not going to take the under. But if it's just snow, I'm going to put action on the over easily. Alex says, I see the Steelers winning. The Steelers defense is going to be the decider in the game. I 100% agree with that. 100%. Just much better than the Titans in multiple ways. As long as Big Ben scores early, I see Pittsburgh winning it. I agree 100%. And that's kind of my thought process on the game, is that when I looked at this game, which team has better defense? It's unquestionably better defenses in Pittsburgh, okay? What team has better offense? That's debatable. It really is. Who do you want as quarterback, Big Ben or Tannehill? Again, that's debatable. Running back's not a debate. AJ Brown, he's a good receiver, but Claypool's been doing some ridiculous stuff. That's kind of an unusual X factor. Offensive line would go to Pittsburgh, even though the offensive line's banged up. They've done that before. I understand that Lawan's gone out before, and you're replacing him for a run of a rusher, but in passing situations, which they will come up, you're going to have a backup left tackle against TJ Watt. So it's that matchup by itself. And I also just like Pittsburgh's defense. It'll be here's the thing I'm going to tell you right now. If Pittsburgh wins the game, they're going to play Baltimore, and there's a very good chance they're going to be favored. And I'll put action on Baltimore. And then I don't even know who Tennessee plays next week. There's a very good chance I'll put action on Tennessee bouncing back, because I love the way the Titans have been playing. It's just funny because I'm looking at Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, and this team wins by shootouts. It's just goofy, man. It's just goofy. So, but it's going to be a fun game. Don't forget Steelers lost two key pieces on defense. Devin Bush. Yeah, I did. Even with those pieces, though, you had TJ Watt going against a backup left tackle. And Tannehill off play action you are correct. You are correct, but you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's starting to come to life. You have two really not great, but good corners, guys that can line up against AJ Brown. So I think it's going to be a fun game. Tim, this is always old football. I just don't have a chance to watch as much college. So I want to hear from you. So I want to hear about college. I know it's not a college football show, but pretty cool game Saturday night, Cincinnati against SMU, both undefeated, both in the top 20. Pretty sweet game to watch. FYI, you know what? Last year on my birthday, I watched SMU come back from 30-9 in the fourth quarter at home to remain undefeated. James Prochet, who's a 6th-round pick for the Ravens, had one of the best performances of a college wide receiver I might have ever seen. He had like 2 or 3 catches that were just absolutely ridiculous, including game-winning touchdown where he caught, I can't even describe it. The defensive back was facing against me. He was caught the ball like around. It was like the 2nd or 3rd touchdown of the game he caught like that. But SMU came back from 30-9, and Tulsa, by the way, I think it was like 4-1 or 5-1. Tulsa had a good team. They had a couple guys ended up getting drafted. So, I mean, it wasn't like a typical Conference USA game. They had some really good players, and 30-9, you have a 21-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Even in college, you are supposed to win that game. Ended up going to, I want to say, double or triple overtime. And it was funny because like the SMU fans were leaving, and then next thing you know, they start pouring back in, and they had like the grass thing in the end zone. They just littered. It was really cool. It was one of the best college games I ever saw. It was really, really cool. Soft spot for SMU. If you want to watch a good old time special, watch Pony Excess, the story of the SMU, the death penalty and everything. One of my favorite ESPN 30 for 30. So, Tim, we can always talk college football. It's just I don't know college football like I know the NFL. So that's the only reason why. So even with the offensive weakness of the Titans is their passing game, and the Titans running defense is really good. Yeah, and I agree with that. But you got Big Ben, Chase Claypool, James Washington. There's some talent at wide receiver, and I still will take Big Ben over Tannehill. I'll take Big Ben over Tannehill in a big, important game. But it's going to be a fun game. like I said, I got 100 on Pittsburgh. I got my money line, and then I got 1.5. So I'm hoping Pittsburgh wins. I would love it if they won by a blowout, so I don't have to worry about it. But I think Pittsburgh wins in a shootout, and I'm probably should have put action on the over. The last time I bet on college ball, I can't remember. Only watch NFL. Feel comfortable. Long term, I want to put more money on college. I just don't have time because I work Saturdays, and I decided that with everything I have multiple things going on. I have a 9-to-5 job. I work 6 days a week currently. I have a side hustle besides this. So I decided that I have to give up college football, but long term, I want to watch more and more college football, and I do want to put action on college football. I just don't have the opportunity. I will DVR some games. And there's a very, very, very good chance I'll DVR that SMU Cincinnati game because I know nothing about Cincinnati. I have watched SMU, and what they're doing is actually pretty cool, but I don't have an opportunity to watch near as much college as I would like to. Alex says he's very biased in the matchup because I want the Titans. Hey, man, I got money on the game, so you know I'm biased. So, Pete says, what I think of the Saints game with Sanders and Thomas out? Do I see a shootout or low scoring? This is a game that if you're going to bet this game, take a teaser with Carolina because I think it's going to be a close game. I have no idea how. All right, the Saints have traditionally over the last couple of years been bad after a bye, including getting blown out last year after the bye. Same thing Green Bay did. Green Bay had a bye. They went to Tampa Bay, laid an egg. Saints did the same thing last year. So the Saints after a bye have not been playing good, but this is a veteran team that's been banged up. So I'm kind of curious how their defense matches up with Carolina. This is a defense which has not played well, play good against Carolina offense that's so-so. Without Sanders and Thomas, I think that affects it. The over-under has dropped a little bit. It wasn't a very high number either, but I actually think it'll be – I'm not putting action on it because I want to see the Saints come out and play well. My reaction is I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think Carolina's going to try to win ugly. I think without Thomas and Sanders, the Saints have no choice but to win ugly. I would be shocked if the Saints didn't win the game, but the line of 7.5 went to 7. The best bet on this game, you want to put action down on this game. Take a teaser in Carolina because I think it's going to – I would take Carolina. If I had to bet on this game, I would take Carolina in the points, but the Saints to win. But keep in mind, last year they looked like garbage after the bye, and are they going to look like garbage this year? And without Sanders and Thomas, that really hurts this team because the Carolina Panthers has played some really damn good defense. So, but I will say this: I don't see even though the Saints have not played good defensively, I'd be really shocked if Carolina came out and scored 30 plus points. I think it's going to be a long answer, low scoring game. It's the one thing. Music City, I feel bad. You're going to lose. You going to lose money. Hey, it's my opinion, and I always say this. I put my money where my mouth is, and I usually win money. This year, I'm losing money. But this was a game that I felt that Pittsburgh would win. I like the Pittsburgh matchup. Don't feel bad because number one, and this is extremely important. I'm not betting my rent check. I do work 6 days a week, which means I do get overtime. So I got to work tomorrow morning. It's overtime, so it's money I can afford to lose. I'm not betting thousands. I got 100 on the game. I can afford to lose 100. Yeah, I want to win, but I got 100 on it. Don't feel bad for me. It's money I can't afford to lose. Never bet your rent check. Never. Did I say that right? Never bet your rent check. So, but pull for me. But I mean, you can't pull against your team. I get you. So, hey, man, I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad you're cheering, and I'm glad that you feel bad, but cheer for your team. And just remember, win or lose, I'm not losing money I can't afford to lose. And if it gets to be that bad, I will stop. I have the ability to stop. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I worked at a casino for several years, and I have a lot of horror stories, and I know people get really hooked on gambling. So bet what you can afford to lose. So I remember all of Texans thought the Longhorns were back, and then it all came down. Guess we got to root for Texas Tech now. At least University of Houston's. Well, I have a soft spot for the University of Texas. I was not surprised to see them lose against Oklahoma. The 30 for 30 special with SMU and Pony Excess makes me happy that SMU's building a pretty good team. They'll never be like they were. If I'm going to assume that you're not. You probably don't remember the SMU glory days where they were a national championship type team. That probably won't happen again, but it's really cool to watch SMU be a pretty good team. I think college football is better when Texas is a top 10 team, and they're not there. Oklahoma will probably run the table. I don't know enough about the Big Ten. I am surprised Kansas looks this bad because they've been recruiting really, really well. So Denver Gator, what is up, brother, man? We broke down all the games. I am eyeballing the Kansas City-Denver game because I'm eyeballing the weather report. Currently, I have the Weather Channel up, and it looks like at game time, it's going to be 17 or 16. At 3 p.m. at 17, 4 p.m. at 16, with 75 to 80% a chance of snow, 11-mile-an-hour winds. I'm going to eyeball the weather report because if it's just snow, I'm putting action on the over. If it looks like it's rain, it looks bad, I'm not going to pick under because the under has been plummeting. The under is the over-under on the Chiefs right now was last time 30 minutes before I went on 44.5. So I broke down all the games. We talked about Antonio Brown signing with with Tampa Bay. And then we also talked a little bit about Baltimore and Minnesota and the Yannick Ngakoue trade. I'd love to know your opinion of this game. I want to put action on the over. I'm eyeballing the weather report because it wasn't. When I got on, it was 48. Now it's 44.5. The line's also been dropping because it was Denver in 10. Now it's Denver +8. So it's getting cold. So that's interesting. So Tim watches a lot of football. I know this. That dude, it's the only thing I watch, man. I'm not going to watch high school ball, but I'm going to watch a little bit of college. And then Sunday, my new routine is I go to the gym Sunday morning and then I get back right before the game start. And then, I take a shower, I shave, et cetera, et cetera. This routine is going to be a little different because I want to monitor the weather report. So you dealing me? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of stories I can tell you about people with gambling problems. So it's not the cold and it's not the snow. Is it wet and windy? I'm seeing 10, 11 mile an hour winds, which I don't think that if it gets more gusty and that, I'm not sure how that's going to affect kicking. But if it's wet, I'm not going to bet. But if it's just NFL teams can play in snow and NFL teams can play in the cold. So that's kind of by the way, if you don't mind, let me know. All my social media. If you don't follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, follow me. All my social media links are below. If you don't mind, can you email me like right before the game? If it's just cold and snowing, I'm going to take the over because 44.5 is too small of a number. So there's little better than sitting down, talking football, always entertaining and getting a lot of cool opinions. Exactly. And that's why I asked that, follow me on social media because I want to hear from teams all over the country. We heard from Funk. You and Funk went back and forth, which was really cool. He's in Detroit. You're in Houston. I got Music City guy in Tennessee, Golden Rooster. is in Atlanta. Pete is in the Miami area. Mike, I haven't heard from in a couple of weeks, but hopefully he comes back. My boy Tim, he's in technically not the Kansas City area, but he's around here. Me and Tim it was kind of like Seinfeld. We were like cat-a-corner apartments to each other. It'd be kind of weird. Like he'd come over to my apartment, we'd watch Sports Center. I'd go over to his apartment, we'd watch Sports Center, and it was kind of cool, man. I kind of miss. Tim, I know you're in a much better situation now. You got married. I'm not going to talk too much about your personal life, but you got married, and you have a good situation right now. So. Music City guy lost money really fast at the blackjack table. You are not alone. Trust me, I've lost playing blackjack, and I'm a former dealer. But yeah, we signed Crockett. No, actually, I didn't. But I'm eyeballing the weather report because the over under is 44.5. For any Chiefs game, and plus you get Noah Fant is coming back, and I believe Melvin Gordon's going to play, so you have more offensive options. I really want to bet over just for fun, regardless of what the weather is. But if you don't mind, give me an up-to-the-minute weather report. I'm going to keep eyeballing the weather report because if it's just cold and snowing, NFL teams can do that, and I'm definitely taking over because 44.5 with a Kansas City team with Le'Veon Bell is you almost have to take that. I mean, but it'll be interesting. But no, I did not. I actually did not see that, to be perfectly honest. I did talk quite a bit about Antonio Brown going to Tampa Bay, and I think that makes a big difference. That was kind of the big one that we saw, but no, I didn't see that. I'm actually on the Broncos page right now. And I'm on ESPN. I'm going through transactions, and I don't see that at all. So, yeah, they placed Casey and Calatrino, butchering that, Eli Wilkinson. Then they signed Jerrigan, signing. Activated Watson, Sylvester Williams, and then signed Purnell to a 3-year extension. So, no, I didn't see that. And then I'm on ESPN, and I don't see that on ESPN. So, but I don't think that matters too much. I'm keeping an eyeball on the weather report. Again, a lot of it's going to have to do with the Pittsburgh game. If I feel like I win that game early, I might just say screw it, just to make the Broncos Chiefs a little more interesting. It's just taking a Chiefs game. And here's a good one. Here's a good one. I think Hamler and Fant, Alberto, I'd love to see a shootout and blow out the over. Gordon, Lindsey, exactly. These are all reasons. Okay, you got Denver's offense. I love Kansas City, of course. New England's got the better defense. New England easily has the better defense in Kansas City. I think that if it's just cold and snowy, I think Denver's going to put up 20. I think Kansas City could easily put 30 on anybody. I'm not insulting the Broncos here. I'm just saying Kansas City's offense is good enough to put up 30 on anybody. Plus, you got Le'Veon Bell. That's why I want to put action on the over, because you'll never see a Chiefs game with 44.5. So if the weather's not that bad, I'm going to put action on the over. So please, on my social media, normally I shut off my phone before noon. I'm not going to this time. So shoot me a message on social media. So this is actually really good. Alex, you said that this is good, that we're in this community where we learn things that we wouldn't normally learn. I was not aware of this. There was a lot of talk. Alex points out there was a lot of talk in the Texans locker room about players getting traded. Romeo said he told them no one is getting traded, but I think the feeling is looming over the locker room. Yeah, because you have a bad team with a lot of free agents. I don't want to go hurt their play because they're going to be playing a hard team in Green Bay. Yeah. You signed a lot of free agents, a lot of your players on the defensive side of the ball. I went over the numbers before, but bottom line, there's a lot of money invested in that defense, and the defense isn't good. So that's kind of the reason why you're seeing that. I think the Texans are really going to hold off until the offseason. But keep in mind, they don't have a first or second round pick in the draft. So they're going to lose a defensive player or two. But I think it's all going to wait till after the season. So we didn't talk too much about this, but did you see the team in purple kicking the tires on Dez? Can he really help them? He signed with the practice squad, which means he's not going to play. And I think it's a good move because I love the Ngakoue trade because that's a third round pick, which is going to be a pick below 88. It's probably going to be between 88 and 96, where that Vikings second round pick that's going to Jacksonville is probably going to be above 40. So I love that pick. That pick's brilliant. So you add a pass rusher to a front seven that's pretty good, and that's something that you really needed because when you look at the Ravens, like, yeah, the front seven's solid, but you can run on them. They don't have a great pass rusher. Well, they added a really good piece, plus him and Calais Campbell, formerly a Jacksonville teammates, really, really will help. So I love that. Dez can do nothing but help. If you watch the Amazon special, All or Nothing, I watch every single year. Dez Bryant destroyed his career on that show. I've never seen anybody whine more than I saw Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant just bitched and bitched and bitched and whined and whined and whined. And I think that too many people saw that and just was like, nah, no, dude, no, we do not want to put with that. So it will help. But I think he's got to come in correct. I think he's got to come in. And keep in mind, you're not getting Dez Bryant, who's a top 5 wide receiver. You're getting a guy at this point in his career who's just a solid 2 at best. You're not getting a guy. You're getting a guy who's going to operate basically like a tight end. He's going to be the guy who's going to put the slant on like 3rd and 6. He's going to be the guy who's going to be basically like a tight end. You're not going to see him go deep. You're not going to see him have some big games. You're going to see he'll at best his best game will be like 5 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown. And the touchdown will be like a 1-yard touchdown. But yes, it definitely does help. And the way I see it, he signed a practice squad, which means he's not eligible to play yet. So it'll be interesting to see. But yes, he does help just a little bit. They're still not better in Kansas City. But it'll be interesting because they play Pittsburgh next week. So if Pittsburgh wins, and I know you're cheering for them, then I'll probably put action on Baltimore because there's a very good chance Baltimore will be a big dog. So let's get Watt to the Steelers for some draft capital for the Texans, and I would not be surprised if that happens. It would not surprise me if that happens. I could see it happening after the season. I don't think it'll happen in midseason unless Pittsburgh wanted to give up a second. Now, keep in mind, they gave up a first last year for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and that worked. But keep in mind, Watt has a big contract, which would make things harder. But it doesn't make sense for the Steelers to do this. Absolutely, I don't think it can fit contract wise, but I think this is definitely a possibility of something that could happen and something that I kind of want to eyeball. Tim, I am. I'm. Yeah. Yeah, man. Have a great weekend, Tim. I don't know if trading Watt could help us get better draft capital. I just don't want to see him gone. It feels like he's too big here. Would be very unpopular here. Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Just keep in mind you don't have a first or a second, and there's a lot of positives around the Houston Texans, but this defense has so much money invested, and they're not good. They're just not good. So it makes sense. It would be unpopular, but I mean, you're 1-5, and I just don't know what Pittsburgh would be willing at this point in his career and at this point in the season if that would happen. But I think if you got to tell me what's going to happen, I think Watt stays in Houston. Denver Gator asked, what's my take on Tua starting? It's a big mistake. Huge mistake because you want him to be the quarterback for the next decade, not this year. You're putting him out against a young, banged-up offensive line. I think it's a terrible move. There's nothing good that can happen. Even if Miami looks good this year, it's not a smart move. Looks very unpopular in the locker room. His team loved Fitz and his reaction. I think it hurt. I think it hurt the team's attitude, either the owner or head coach. Either way, hurt. Yeah, I agree. And I questioned on my last show that I did Wednesday that I really questioned if this came from Flores or the front office. I think that you go with Fitz for the rest of the year, and then you go into 2021 and you say, okay, it's now Tua time. Having him start now, I don't think helps your team. I don't think it helps your team, and I think it does affect the locker room. Keep in mind the same thing happened with Eli Manning in New York. They were 5-4 with Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they benched Warner. They put in Eli Manning. They went 0-7. They didn't win a game when Eli Manning was a rookie. Didn't win one single game. They led them to a couple Super Bowls. But basically, I feel like this really ruins 2020. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. I didn't watch him play against the Jets, so I don't know. He came in garbage time against a garbage team. So what showed you that it was time? Hated the decision. I was only saying the Watt thing to see, and that's why I think J.J. Watt, because he's made enough money in his career, and if you saw, he was on Saturday Night Live, and he's got endorsements, and if he's smart, he's got his money right. He's now married. He's probably thinking, okay, well, I'm not the same player I was 5 years ago, so more than likely I could see him taking a pay cut to go play with his brother, and I think Watt would like playing in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I think it would be cool too. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's something I think that we should all keep an eye on, though. Denver Gator, you're preaching to the choir here, man. Fitzmagic was done wrong, and I think he knows that this was his last chance to be an NFL starter. More than likely, he'll go to another team and be a backup, and then he may start again, but this was his year, his team, and they were 3-3 in a bad division. Let's be clear. He was right he had a chance to go out as a division winner, and I think it was taken away from him. So yeah, it just terrible all the way around. I'm sure the Texans will try to get Watt into the front office, even as a coach type after he retires. I think that what will happen with Watt is that he's popular enough. Like I said, that the move that he hosted Saturday Night Live, that was strategic by Watt's camp because they're trying to get him on in front of the camera. They're putting him out to the public. He actually was pretty funny on Saturday Night Live. I'm not a big fan of the show anymore, but that's a different thing. But bottom line, him hosting Saturday Night Live was a big deal because it shows that he's trying to, get himself out there either for a TV career after football. I think he'd be pretty good on TV. Maybe he wants to go into wrestling. That's also something that I could see. I think it'd be fun. But I think he'd be open to a trade, but I think he'd have to determine what team he goes to. I think he has that type of pull. But it wouldn't surprise me if he leaves. AB, yup. And Isaac, welcome, brother. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. I think it moves Tampa Bay up. I had them kind of neck and neck with the Saints. I think it puts them as the front runners in the NFC South. Today, right now, I would say who's going to the Super Bowl in the NFC. I would tell you the Seahawks, but Tampa Bay has a better defense. And keep in mind, and I said this before, so I'm assuming you're just jumping in since I just saw your comments just now. You're not getting a top 5 receiver. This is option 3 or 4. But what you're doing is that instead of having that same 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver set, you're going to go with 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, and AB is receiver number 3. So you're not getting one of the top players in football. You're getting your number 3 wide receiver. You're getting an upgrade there, but this is a big deal. And I think it'll add something because him and Tom Brady really clicked. So Watt's a lovable guy. He is. And like I said, he was pretty funny in Saturday Night Live. So Gronk versus Watt. I don't watch wrestling, but I think that would be kind of cool. It's going to happen. Just wait. Let's be clear. I mean, JJ Watt's on the back 9 of his career, whether he's got 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, maybe 1 year, you never know. But hosting Saturday Night Live was a strategic move to get his name out to the general public. So that's something that you got to look at and you got to think about. So that's kind of my opinion on it. And listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. We've been going on for over an hour and 50. Denver Gator, being that you are in the Denver area, please keep me informed what the weather report is because I do want to put action on the over. I'm not going to touch Denver in 8, but I do want to put action on the over-under. Guys, thank you so much for all your comments. This is my favorite thing in the world to do. If I had a choice between going out on a date with a beautiful girl or sitting here talking football with you guys, I'm talking football with you guys 100% of the time. A friendly reminder, no show next Friday. But follow me on social media. You will see why. You will understand. And I will have lots of stuff on my social media. And I might have a video or two, but they'll be very short, and you'll see why. So what's my Twitter? I actually got below. It's the Dan Show, but just go ahead and I have it actually in the description. So just check out the description below. Follow me on social media. And guys, have a great weekend. And I'll see you guys all Wednesday.